Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming management case study examinations happening in February 2024. My name is Nick and I'm one of the lead tutors and evaluators for MCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. So as I've mentioned earlier in my previous webinars, this is the most important webinar out of the four which we have scheduled for you for the upcoming session. So first things first, I will highlight answering and time management techniques. Both these elements will be covered together with the intention of ensuring that you are capable of coming up with high quality answers at your exam. But mind you, there's absolutely no point of knowing these techniques without practicing them. So I hope you'd practice these answering and time management techniques every time you attempt our mock exams. And on top of that, with the idea of further improving your knowledge pertaining to answering and time management techniques, I will also highlight how these techniques should be adopted or implemented by taking you through the question and answer of the MCS mini mock, which we shared with you already last week. I hope you guys went through it and tried to attempt it under exam conditions. If that is the case, you'd benefit immensely once I take you through the mini mock, thereby highlighting answering and time management techniques. So before we get into the technicalities, let me remind you about the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled. So the fourth webinar is happening next Saturday, exam prep. So in the fourth webinar, give me a second, please. Yeah. So in the fourth webinar, I will be highlighting what you need to do to build positive attitude before your examination, because as per the examiner, if you are positive, if you have a higher level of confidence, chances of you passing your exam is extremely high. And on top of that, in the same webinar, I will also take you through examiner's comments, because it's of utmost importance that you understand what's required when it comes to preparing for your examination, or what type of a mindset you need to have when preparing for the examination. So I'll be with these things in mind, I'll take you through examiner's comments in the fourth webinar. And in the workshops, Jared, our the other tutor who is involved with the MCS process, will take you through questions and answers pertaining to E2, P2, and F2 syllabi, with the intention of ensuring that you really understand how to tackle these syllabus areas. And on top of that, if you have any questions or concerns, you can raise them in these workshops which we have scheduled for you. And in the final Q&A workshop, Jared will be giving you tips about what you need to do to maintain a positive attitude closer to the exam, because the final Q&A happens 2 or 3 weeks, 2 or 3 days rather, before the examination. So these last minute tips will be immensely beneficial for you. So I hope you'd attend these webinars as well as workshops live. If so, you can if you have any questions, you can raise your concerns or questions then and there at each of these webinars and workshops. All right, so having said that, let's look at answering techniques. So when developing answers, what are you supposed to do? So most students out there, what they'd do is they'd read through the scenario. After reading through the scenario, they'd start typing out the fully fledged answer without spending time to think or plan or structure the answer. So such an exercise should be avoided at all costs. Why? Because when you try to type the fully fledged answer without planning out your answer, you might go wrong halfway through your answer. You might feel that you are headed in the wrong direction. If that is the case, you'd end up deleting your answer. And when that occurs, you know for a fact that you had wasted time. And in such an environment, you'd panic, and panic leads to a situation where you'd blank out, or you'd experience brain freeze. And when that occurs, you'd end up failing the examination. And on top of that, if you do not manage your time properly, or if you waste time at your examination, you are not in a position to come up with high quality answers. You are not in a position to complete your answers. So if you provide incomplete answers, you are not doing your job properly as a finance manager. So in such an environment, you'd end up failing the MCS exam. So in order to avoid all these things, it's prudent to stick to this answering technique. So first things first, what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to use appropriate headings and subheadings when developing your answers. So in your paper, let's assume that there are 2 subtasks. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading which is in bold and underlined format. And if you feel that if you feel that you need to further faction out your answer, then you are welcome to come up with subheadings. And if so, subheadings should be in bold format. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading which is in bold and underlined format. And if you want to further faction out your answer, then you can come up with subheadings. If so, subheadings should be in bold format. And when providing answers, you are supposed to, develop answers in paragraphs. So each paragraph should consist of 2 to 4 lined sentences. You're not supposed to provide answers in single lined sentences, or you are not supposed to provide answers in bullet points. The examiner is particularly concerned about this area because as I've mentioned in the previous webinars, the examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So in a real-life corporate environment, it's as if you receive an email from your superior. So when responding to this email, usually you are supposed to, provide your evaluations or recommendations in paragraph format. So that's exactly what you need to replicate in your MCS exam as well. So for each valid answer point, which you're trying to highlight within the answer, you need to develop a paragraph. So if you have 7 answer points within your answer plan, you'd understand what an answer plan is once I'm done with the first 2 parts of tonight's webinar. And once I take you through the mini mock, you'd further understand what an answer plan looks like. So when planning out your answer, or in other terms, when developing an answer plan, let's assume you have 7 valid points. If that is the case, you need to have 7 paragraphs within your fully fledged answer. So if in another subtask, let's assume you have 6 valid points. If that is the case, you need to have 6 paragraphs within your fully fledged answer. So in a nutshell, for each valid answer point, you need to come up with a paragraph. Do not write all your answers within one single paragraph, because if that is the case, you are making things extremely hard for the marker. Because when the marker, although you are taking 3 hours to attempt the entire paper, the marker only takes somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes to mark your paper, mark your answer script. So in such an environment, when the marker is trying to really understand what we have written within 10 to 15 minutes, it's better to make the invigilators or the markers' life easy. So, and on top of that, if you adhere to the guidelines provided by the examiner, you'd be in the good books of the marker. And let's assume you fall short by 1 or 2 marks, you stand a chance of passing the exam if you have adhered to the guidelines provided by the examiner. So what is the guideline? To develop a paragraph per answer point. Don't write the entire answer within one single paragraph, because if that is the case, the marker will have to pick and select the type of valid points which we have highlighted, which is not easy when you write everything together. Instead, if you faction out paragraphs, then the marker can easily understand how many valid points you have highlighted within the answer, and out of these valid points, which are accurate and which are inaccurate. So it's better to be in the good books of the marker. So adhere to these guidelines. And when it comes to time management, how are you supposed to manage your 45 minutes? Because as you already should know, on a task by task basis, the time allocation is 45 minutes. So how are you supposed to manage this time frame? So 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards reading the scenario and developing something called an answer plan. You'd see an answer plan in a while. And 2/3 of the time should be allocated towards typing your answer. So once you have an answer plan, it will be in bullet points. You'd understand what I'm talking about in a while. So the answer plan should be in bullet points. However, when providing answers, you are supposed to provide answers in paragraph format. So it's a matter of expanding. When typing your fully fledged answer, it's a matter of expanding your answer plan. So 1/3 of the time should be allocated towards answer planning, and 2/3 of the time should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan. So how are you supposed to do this? Now, you need to allocate something like 5 minutes to read through the scenario. And once you're done with it, you need to allocate something like 15 to 20 minutes to develop the answer plan. And the remaining 25 minutes should be allocated towards, expanding your answer plan, thereby typing out your fully fledged answer. So 5 minutes for reading, 20 minutes for the answer plan, and the remaining 25 minutes should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan. Okay. And the expected typing speed is a minimum of 20 words per minute. So if you are, if your typing speed is not up to the required level of standard, there are so many platforms out there. Please utilize them and ensure that you improve your typing speed. If not, you cannot pass the MCS exam. If your typing speed is not up to the required level of standard, you need to really work on it. And if you feel that, even after, working on your typing speed for 1 or 2 weeks, if you feel that the speed is not up to the standard, then forget about attempting the exam in Feb. Focus on May, because if you can't focus or get the typing speed right, you're not going to pass the MCS exam. And when developing the answer plan, you are supposed to understand the mark allocations based on the weightages provided under each and every subtask. So what am I talking about? Let me quickly take you through the take you to the mini mock. So yeah, so this is what I'm talking about. So for instance, if you look at this mini mock, section number 1 consists of 2 subtasks, subtask A and subtask B. So the weightage provided for the first subtask is 56%, and the weightage provided for the second subtask is 44%. So by looking at these weightages, you are in a position to determine how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. So if I take you through the answer plan, with the intention of highlighting how many marks are allocated. So as you know, the MCS paper consists of 4 main tasks. So for the entire paper, you'd be getting 150 marks. So 150 divided by 4 is 37.5 marks per task. So 56% of 37.5 marks comes up to 21 marks, and 44% of 37.5 marks comes up to 16.5 marks. So based on the weightage provided for each under each and every subtask, you are supposed to determine how many marks are allocated, and based on the mark allocation, you are supposed to stipulate or decide how many points need to appear within your answer plan. So per valid point, you'd get 2 marks each. So if that is the case, if 21 marks are allocated for the first subtask, then you need to have something like 9 to 10 valid points within your answer plan. And for the second subtask, if 16.5 marks are allocated, you need to have 7 to 8 valid points within your answer plan. So looking at subtask B, if you are supposed to have 7 to 8 valid points within the answer plan, let's assume you came up with 8 valid points, then when expanding the answer plan, you need to have 8 paragraphs within your answer, which is applicable for subtask B. So that's how you understand how many points need to appear within your answer plan on a subtask and subtask basis. So this is the most prudent thing to do, rather than blindly trying to determine the mark allocation, rather than blindly trying to develop answer plans, it's prudent for you to focus on the mark allocation and based on that, develop answer plans. If that is the case, the quality of your answers will significantly improve. So that's what you need to focus on. You are supposed to determine the mark allocation for each subtask based on the weightage provided. Then when it comes to formatting, do not spend time on formatting. The only type of formatting which you need to be considerate about is with regards to headings, subheadings, and providing answers in paragraphs. So heading, as I mentioned earlier, a heading should be in bold and underlined format. And if you are using subheadings, the subheading should be in bold format. And always remember, you are getting marks for the quality of your answer, not the quantity. Just because you write pages and pages of answers, just because your word count is through the roof, you're not going to get marks. Instead, the marker is going to focus on the quality of your answer. So that's exactly why I mentioned that you need to allocate something like 20 minutes to develop something called an answer plan, or structure your answer, or plan out your answer with the sole intention of ensuring that you develop a high quality answer. Why? Because you are getting marks for quality, not for quantity. So that's what you need. That's what you need to remember. Then, what are you supposed to do? What are the steps which you need to adhere to when developing your answers? So first things first, you are supposed to read the scenario. So, as I've mentioned earlier, questions will be thrown at you in the form of an email, which you'd receive from your senior finance manager or some other type of a senior manager. So this is exactly how your paper would look like. And on top of that, you'd also have access to reference material, because additional information will be provided as part of reference material, which comes as an attachment to the email. Okay, so you are supposed to read the scenario first. And as I mentioned earlier, you need to spend something like 5 minutes to understand what's highlighted within each and every scenario. Then after reading the scenario, you are supposed to plot the requirements into headings and subheadings. So if you look at the first requirement, it consists of 2 subtasks. So for each subtask, you need to come up with a main heading. Do not, name the subtasks. Do not say subtask A and subtask B, because when you are responding to an email, at work, you are not going to adhere to a similar approach. So it's better to focus on developing headings per subtask. So since there are 2 subtasks in the main task, task number 1, you need to come up with 2 main headings. So plot the requirements into headings, and if you further need to fraction out your answer, then you are invited to come up with subheadings as well. Then invest time to understand the requirement clearly. So with the intention of really understanding the requirement, because if you do not understand the requirement, then the answer will be inaccurate. So in order to ensure that you really understand the requirement, you are supposed to rephrase the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. I'll tell you why I'm telling you this. So for instance, if you look at the first subtask, it goes on to 2 lines. Firstly, evaluate the challenges Cuppcar will face in complying with the 3 main dealership conditions of KMW and how we can overcome those challenges. So when, developing your answer plan, if you want to gain an understanding about the requirement, you can't keep reading 2 lines, because it's going to take up a lot of time, and with exam stress, it's going to complicate the entire answer planning process. Instead, the prudent thing to do is to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a simpler manner, in a concise manner. So this is how you are supposed to do it. So I've reiterated the first requirement. You are supposed to evaluate the challenges Cuppcar faces in complying with the 3 main dealership conditions of KMW and how we can overcome those challenges. I've simplified it by reiterating it as challenges of complying with dealership conditions and how to overcome. So when developing the answer plan, if you want to check whether you are headed in the correct direction, go back to the requirement which you have written in your own words and try to figure out what you're supposed to do. Okay. So by reading something like this, which is extremely concise, you can easily understand where you are supposed to be headed. Okay, challenges of complying with dealership conditions and how to overcome. So it's simple. You can easily, remind yourself what's expected from you. So, and looking at the second subtask, secondly, discuss the characteristics of debt and equity that should be considered when sourcing the funds for the investment required to establish the new dealership for KMW. So rather than reading through these two sentences, or these two-line sentence, I've simplified it by saying characteristics of debt and equity. So whilst developing your answer plan, if you're clueless about what you're supposed to achieve, go back to the requirement which we have mentioned or highlighted with in your own words, and you can simply understand what's expected from you. Characteristics of debt and equity. So simplify it in order to make your life easy. Okay. So invest time to understand the requirement. So the best way to really understand the requirement is to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a concise manner. After you have done it, now you know what's expected from you. Then you need to focus on planning the answer or developing something called the answer plan. So when planning the answer, as I mentioned earlier, you need to allocate something like 15 to 20 minutes. Although I tell you this, when you try to develop an answer plan for the first time, it would take 40 to 45 minutes. That's normal because it's something like riding the bicycle. So if you're trying to ride the bicycle for the first time, you'd fall. You won't know when to brake and whatnot. You won't know how to change your gears and whatnot. It takes some time for you to get accustomed to, doing something new. So the same philosophy applies to the answering and time management techniques as well. So, although I'm saying that you are supposed to take 20 minutes to develop the answer plan, you'd take 40 to 45 minutes when you are attempting it for the first time. However, when you keep practicing these techniques, by the time you are done with the 5 mock exams, you will champion this technique. So you'd be in a position to develop answer plans within 15 to 20 minutes. Okay. So we have developed 5 mock exams, and each mock exam carries 4 tasks. So 4 tasks into 5 mock exams comes to 20 tasks in total. So every time you attempt a mock exam, if you keep practicing these answering and time management techniques, you are in a position to practice answering and time management techniques 20 times over. That's enough and more practice for you to champion this art and get it right at your real exam. So plan the answer first. So when developing the answer plan, 20 minutes should be allocated. And when developing the answer plan, do not do it on a scratch pad because you'd have access to a separate scratch pad. Do not do it on the scratch pad because let's assume you mentioned 8 valid points in your scratch pad. And when you are trying to expand your answer plan, you miss out on one of the points which you have highlighted within the scratch pad. Why is that the case? Because the scratch pad is a separate, screen which you'd have access to at the exam. So rather than utilizing the scratch pad and running the risk of missing out on certain points which you have highlighted, it's better to develop the answer plan within the answer screen itself, because then you'd never miss out on points which you have highlighted within your answer plan. On top of that, it's too cumbersome when you try to switch between two pages or two screens. Instead of shifting between two screens, it's efficient and easy if you develop the answer plan within your answer screen itself. So develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. Take 20 minutes to develop the answer plan. And once you are done with the answer plan for the entire task, then it's just a matter of expanding each of the points which appear within the answer plan. So for each valid point or for each main point, you need to come up with a paragraph, as I mentioned earlier. So this is what we're supposed to do with the intention of managing your time. At the same time, coming up with high quality answers, well-structured answers. So when developing the answer plan, you are spending some time to think, because as a finance manager, before providing your evaluations or before coming up with recommendations, you need to think, because that's exactly what you do at when carrying out your routine responsibilities at work. So a similar approach needs to be adhered to at your examination as well. So spend some time to plan your answer. If that is the case, the quality of your answer will significantly improve. And as I mentioned earlier, the marker is always focusing on quality. So this is the best way to ensure that your answers carry the highest amount of quality. And on top of that, you can also, when you are spending some time to plan your answer, you can also think about how pre-seen information can be brought in with the intention of significantly improving the quality of your answers. So these are the things which you need to adhere to when it comes to developing answer plans. So having said these things, now I'm going to highlight how these techniques should be implemented by taking you through a mini mock which we shared via the WhatsApp group last week. So before we move on to this area, you might have questions, so I'm ready to answer your questions. If you have any, I'm going to pause the record. All right, folks. So thank you for those questions. And if you have additional questions, please, type it out in the chat section. There will be a Q&A session towards the end of tonight's webinar. And in it, I'll, address your concerns. So before we move on to the mini mock, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So this is the MCS page. And as I mentioned earlier, in order to check free content, click on this button, create a user account, and via the free content, you'd have access to the recorded versions of the 4 webinars which we are conducting. And on top of that, you'd have access to the mini mock, its suggested answer, and the answer plan. And if you are interested in investing on our paid packages, before you do that, I invite you guys to check the free content. This sample material consists of all the material which we provide under the MCS package, under different MCS packages rather. So check out the free content in order to understand what's in store for you. And if you are not yet part of the MCS WhatsApp discussion forum, simply click on this button and join the WhatsApp group, because via the WhatsApp group, we are helping you out with your questions and concerns. And on top of that, we'll keep you constantly reminded about the weekly webinars and workshops. And we'd also share free material with you via this MCS WhatsApp group. And let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So we offer 2 main packages, the value pack and the premium package. So, talking about the value pack, this is designed for students who are coming through the CIMA general route. So if you're coming through the CIMA general route, you would have done your OTQs pertaining to E2, F2, and P2 syllabi. And on top of that, since you would have done your OCS examination, you'd be conversant with the case study examinations conducted by CIMA. So since you know your theoretical elements, you should not really focus on learning theory because you have passed your OTQs. You need not really focus on theory. Instead, it's just a matter of attempting mock exams under real exam conditions with the intention of increasing the quality of your answers. So if you opt for the value pack, you'd gain access to the recordings of all the webinars which we are conducting. You'd also have access to 5 mock exams and suggested answers. So mind you, when developing these 5 mock exams, we have made sure to cover the entire syllabus, thereby covering all syllabus content. So with the intention of ensuring that you are conversant with all syllabus areas, and at the real exam, it would be a walk in the park. Okay, so we have developed 5 exam standard and pre-seen specific mock exams with suggested answers. You'd also gain access to pre-seen analysis videos where if you watch these 4 videos, you can decrypt the entire pre-seen document and really understand the internal dynamics of Cuppcar, its external dynamics, as well as the financial performance of the company. And you'd also gain access to the annotated pre-seen. So let me quickly show you what the annotated pre-seen looks like. So, the intention of developing this annotated pre-seen is to ensure that you have access to the pre-seen information in a summarized form so that you can easily understand the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-seen document. And on top of that, another intention of coming up with these annotations is to highlight the type of syllabus areas or the type of scenarios which can be tested at your real exam. So this is the pre-seen which was relevant for the previous case study. So as you can see, we have summarized the entire pre-seen, taking out the most important information, at the same time highlighting any scenarios which can be thrown at you at your real exam, and on top of that highlighting any syllabus areas which can be tested based on the hints provided by the CIMA examiner. All right, so you can easily understand what's mentioned or the most important points mentioned within the pre-seen document by going through our annotated pre-seen. You'd also gain access to industry and financial analysis slides. So let me quickly take you through this set of slides as well. So the industry analysis slides, these were developed for a previous pre-seen. So, it consists of four main elements. First things first, an overview to your chosen industries provided with the intention of ensuring that you really understand what your industry is about. Then we have also highlighted trends because based on these trends, scenarios can be thrown at you at your real exam. And we have also highlighted industry challenges because based on these challenges, you can easily predict the type of issues you'd face at the real exam. And at the very end, real world examples are provided with the intention of ensuring that you really understand further understand what happens within this industry. So, that's exactly what you can see if you go through this set of industry analysis slides. You need not do your own research. We have done it for you. And the same should be said about the financial analysis slides. Again, these set of financial analysis slides are relevant for the previous case study because I'm just showing you sample material. So at the very end of your pre-seen, you'd have access to the financial statements of the company as well as its closest competitor. So with the intention of ensuring that you really understand what happens within the company in a financial sense, we have come up with evaluations, and we have made sure to keep it concise so that you can easily understand what happens within the company in a financial sense. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, as well as at the very end, a ratio analysis is conducted, thereby comparing the performance of the company to with its closest competitor. And again, we have kept things simple so that you can easily understand what happens within your company. And if there are any shortcomings, you'd easily understand these shortcomings. All right, so these are the type of resources which are provided under the value pack. And you'd also gain access to top 10 likely issue slides, which highlights the most prominent type of scenarios which can be tested at your examination. You'd also gain access to the case study familiarization kit. So by going through this familiarization kit within 10 to 15 minutes, you can easily understand the technicalities behind the MCS exam. You'd also gain access to a tutor managed live chat. So if you have any questions, you can raise these concerns via this live chat. And you'd also gain access to the OTQ revision cards. So although you might have passed your OTQ examinations, it's better to brush up your knowledge with regards to theoretical content. So the best way to do it is by referring to our OTQ revision cards. So the value pack is priced at £199. And looking at the premium package, this is designed for students who are coming through the exemption routes such as FLP and Master's Gateway, and for those who had failed their examination previously. Okay, so if you're coming through an exemption route, what I've encountered is most students lack theoretical knowledge. You'd be totally fine with E2 relevant areas because it's highly practical. The type of answers you are supposed to develop are highly practical. But when it comes to P2 and F2 syllabi, there will be gaps in knowledge. So most students who are coming through the Master's Gateway or the FLP routes, you would have completed your academic qualifications. However, this is a professional qualification. So in an academic qualification, you are supposed to, your knowledge is tested via assignments and presentations, and you have some time to prepare for your presentations and assignments. Even if you do not attend lectures, you can still, conduct your own research and come up with high quality assignments or presentations. However, at this exam, the MCS exam, since this is a professional qualification, you do not have that benefit. Instead, you have to sit in one place and attempt the entire paper in one go, and it's not easy. You need to, when developing answers, you need to consider the information provided in each scenario. And after that, when providing your evaluations or when developing recommendations, you need to utilize your theoretical knowledge with the intention of improving the quality of your answers. So if you do not know theory, you cannot pass the MCS exam. So with that in mind, we have developed the premium package. And on top of that, if you failed in your previous sitting, then it highlights gaps in knowledge pertaining to theory as well as application skills. So with the intention of ensuring that you overcome these issues or improve yourself, we have developed the premium package. So the premium package comes with all different types of material which is covered under the value pack. Additionally, you would have access to the online mock exam platform. So when attempting each of the mock exams, I said you are supposed to keep practicing answering and time management techniques. And the best way to do it is by attempting the mocks via our exam platform, because we have developed an exam platform which is akin to the Pearson VUE system, which you'd use at your real exam. So it's better to get accustomed to exam conditions, because although 45 minutes are allocated per task, when you look at the clock, when you are under exam stress, when you look at the clock, you'd feel that the time is ticking faster. So it's better to get accustomed to these type of pressures before the exam. It's better to practice answering and time management techniques before the exam rather than trying to implement them or face these issues at your real exam. So we have developed this exam platform. So make use of this for utmost levels of, in order to achieve utmost levels of quality when it comes to preparations. And on top of that, you'd gain access to one-on-one tutor feedback on mocks 3, 4, and 5. So mocks 1 and 2 are there for you to get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. And once you are conversant with these techniques, from mock 3 onwards, we will be providing tutor feedback with the intention of ensuring that you really understand your shortcomings. So this is the type of feedback which you'd receive. So as you can see, evaluations are provided throughout the answer script with the intention of highlighting your shortcomings. And once you know your shortcomings, you are in a position to avoid them when practicing mock exams, when practicing the development of answer plans. And if that is the case, you won't commit the same mistakes at your real exam. So throughout this answer script, you can see that in-depth evaluations are provided. And if there are major shortcomings, they are highlighted as tutor comments at the very end. And we provide overall comments as well, so that you really understand what your shortcomings are, you really understand what you need to avoid. And at the very end, mark breakdowns are provided on a subtask by subtask basis. We have also gone a step further and determined a success rate. So by looking at the success rate, you are in a position to understand the subtasks in which your performance is substandard. And rather than, when conducting revision, rather than attempting the entire mock by allocating 3 hours of your time once more, because if you do, you would be wasting a lot of time. Rather than doing that, you are supposed to solely focus on redeveloping answer plans. So when it comes to redeveloping answer plans, you need to solely focus on the areas in which your performance is not up to the required level of standard. And by doing so, you are in a position to significantly improve your answering techniques as well as carrying out your revision in the smartest manner. Okay, so this is the type of feedback which we provide at TCS. So you'd gain access to the same type of services if you opt for the premium package. And this also comes with answer plans of all mocks. No other provider out there is providing this service. So these answer plans are based on, I'll say quickly take you through the answer plan of the mini mock. So rather than going through pages and pages of suggested answers, you can simply refer to the answer plan and understand the content of the answer, how theoretical elements had been brought in, how pre-seen information had been brought in with the intention of improving the quality of the answer. And on top of that, you can easily understand the structure of each and every answer. And as I mentioned earlier, after receiving tutor feedback, you are supposed to redevelop answer plans. And once you're done with your fresh answer plan, focused on the subtasks in which your performance was not up to the required level of standard. So once you redevelop answer plans, you are simply supposed to compare your new answer plan to the answer plans which we have provided and see whether your performance had improved, whether you have left out main points and whatnot. So this is the best way to improve the chances of passing the MCS exam. So you'd have access to all these things. You need not read through suggested answers and develop your own short notes, study notes and whatnot. We have done it for you. Okay. And this also comes with 20 master classes. So you'd understand what's covered or how we are conducting master classes in a while when I take you through the questions and answers of the first task of the mini mock. So via the master classes, the intention of developing these master classes is to ensure that on a task by task basis, you'd understand the logic behind each answer, at the same time learning theory and improving your application skills. So most students end up wasting a lot of time when trying to learn theory, especially if you're coming through an exemption route, because you don't have time to go through your study notes, study texts and whatnot. You do not have time to come up with your own short notes and whatnot. Instead, the best way, the smartest way to learn theory and improve your application skills significantly within a short period of time is by watching our master classes. And when conducting the master classes, we are carrying out the evaluations based on the answer plans which we have provided. So you'd significantly improve your answering technique as well as the structure of your answers as well. And the premium package comes with a pass guarantee. So in order to claim the pass guarantee, so what this pass guarantee entails is if you end up investing on the premium package and end up failing the exam, you would gain access to the premium package in your subsequent sitting free of charge. However, in order to claim your pass guarantee, you need to fulfill these 3 requirements. You need to complete all 5 mock exams, because if you don't do it, you are not covering the entire syllabus. So if you're not conversant with the entire syllabus, then you are testing your luck. So you cannot pass the exam without preparing fully. So if you have to prepare fully, you need to attempt all 5 mock exams. And when developing answers, your answers need to be original. There's absolutely no point of going through master classes before attempting each mock exam. Or if you go through the suggested answers and if you try to replicate the suggested answers, you are actually cheating yourself. Rather than doing that, focus on adhering to the study plan which we have provided, so that on a week by week basis, you'd keep on improving so that you'd ensure a sure pass at your MCS exam. And you are supposed to meet the performance criteria as well to claim the pass guarantee. So for mocks 3, 4, and 5, you need to get 40% or more. Why have we come up with this criteria? With the intention of ensuring that you are extremely serious about extremely serious when attempting mocks 3, 4, and 5. Because if you're not serious, there's absolutely no point of preparing for the MCS exam, absolutely no point of spending a lot of money on the premium package. So whenever you are attempting the mock exams, especially since you are getting tutor feedback for mocks 3, 4, and 5, you need to give your best shot. So in order to ensure that you give your best shot, we have come up with this performance criteria. So actually speaking, if you complete these 3 requirements, there's absolutely no way that you'd end up failing the exam. So that's exactly why we are saying that the premium package comes with this pass guarantee. So if you do not fulfill these three requirements, even if you invest on the premium package, you are not in a position to pass your MCS exam. So the package is priced at £749. So you can pay this in 2 installments of £374 each, or else if you opt to pay in full, then you'd save £100. If that's the case, the price of the package will be £649. So you can click on, you can select your preferred course and click on the relevant button and purchase it via the website directly. And if you are yet to register for the MCS webinars, you can do so by filling out this area, and you can access the MCS study plan by clicking on this button. So according to the study plan, we are in week number 3, and within this week, you are supposed to attempt mock number 2 via the exam platform, watch the 4 master classes, and refer to the answer plans of mock number 2. Okay, so start. If you are yet to start preparations, do it right now, because you are not supposed to wait until the last moment. I've explained the entire study plan in our first webinar. So if you are yet to check out the recorded version of it, please do, because you can access it under the free content as well as the paid content, and then you'd realize what we're supposed to do. So in a nutshell, you are simply supposed to attempt a mock per week. There's only 4 weeks until your exam. So in the upcoming week, it's prudent to attempt mocks 1 and 2. And when attempting each mock, keep practicing answering and time management techniques, which we have learned today. And if so, from the preceding week onwards, it's just a matter of attempting a mock per week. So the weekly study hours allocated is just 7 hours. So 3 hours should be allocated towards attempting the mock, and 4 hours should be allocated towards watching the 4 master classes and redeveloping answer plans focused on the areas in which your performance is substandard. So that's what you are supposed to do. So you can always keep track of where you are at by checking the study plan which we have provided. All right, so having said that, I'm moving on to the mini mock. So based on it, I'll highlight how we are supposed to implement answering and time management techniques. So I'm in the student dashboard. Go to my courses. Since I'm the admin, I have access to all the courses in here, but you'd only see your preferred or the course which you have purchased. So click on this button and go to mocks, and you'd have access to the questions as well as the answers of the mini mock. Okay, so task number 1, 45 minutes is the time allocation. You have received the following email from your senior finance manager as you start your day at office. So the subject goes as new dealership proposal. So this question or this email highlights information about the opportunity to open up new dealerships. The board has received an interesting dealership proposal from KMW, a popular hybrid car manufacturer from Maryland. So we have received a dealership proposal from a company which is located within some other country. Okay, so this is a foreign company which has gotten in touch with us. So KMW's hybrid vehicles have garnered significant international acclaim and demand, and they are now eager to extend their presence into the Welland market. So they are intending to expand their operations into our market, which is located in Welland. Cuppcar has received an exclusive dealership proposal from KMW, which is good for us. Please refer to the board meeting minutes I have attached for more details. So we have to go through the reference material. So the reference material indicates information which is extracted from board minutes. The popular hybrid car manufacturer KMW is keen to enter the Welland market. They have first approached Cuppcar for an exclusive dealership proposal. If the deal proceeds, we will be KMW's one and only dealership in Welland for the next 3 years. So if you go ahead with this dealership proposal, it's going to be extremely beneficial for us. Why? Because we have the sole authority to market and sell KMW's cars within the Welland market for the upcoming 3 years. However, in order to award the exclusive dealership to Cuppcar, KMW has stipulated 3 main conditions. We need to determine whether we are capable of complying with these conditions. 3 main conditions of the dealership proposal are joint marketing, joint decision making, and sustainable operations. So with regards to joint marketing, Cuppcar should actively participate in joint marketing initiatives with KMW to promote the brand's vehicles and services in the Welland market. So when marketing their products as well as services, KMW's products and services, we have to be involved with the marketing initiatives rather than leaving KMW to operate all marketing initiatives. We have to take part of these activities actively. And the second point is, or the second condition is with regards to decision making. Cuppcar should establish regular communication channels and joint decision-making processes to ensure the smooth operations of the new dealership, which is a prudent thing to do when dealing with a company which is located within another country. It's better, since we are going ahead with this dealership for the first time, since we are dealing with this company for the first time, it's better to arrive at decisions in a collaborative manner rather than us trying to arrive at our own decisions. If that is the case, then there will be conflicts between us and KMW. So in order to avoid these type of conflicts and inefficiencies, it's prudent to be engaged with joint decision making. Then the third condition is pertaining to sustainable operations. Cuppcar is required to implement sustainable and environmentally responsible practices at the new dealership, including waste reduction, energy efficiency, and eco-friendly business operations. So we have to be sustainable as per KMW's one of the conditions, and this includes reducing our wastage, achieving energy efficiency, and conducting our business in an eco-friendly manner. Moreover, KMW requires us to open 8 new dealerships for them in 8 major cities in Welland. This would require a significant capital investment from Cuppcar, and we need to determine how best we can source the required finance. Our senior finance manager has informed that the board, informed the board rather, that the initial investment required to set up the dealership has been projected to be $160 million. So this is a significant investment with regards to opening up these 8 dealerships. Okay, so the SFM is saying that we have to spend $160 million if we are to proceed with this investment. So I hope you understood what's highlighted within the reference material. So let's look at the requirement. The first one is to evaluate the challenges Cuppcar will face in complying with the 3 main dealership conditions of KMW. So what are we supposed to do to comply with these 3 conditions stipulated by KMW, and how we can overcome those challenges? Okay, so as I mentioned earlier, when developing your answer plans, it's better to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a concise manner so that you can easily understand what's expected from you. So that's exactly what you can see here: challenges of complying with dealership conditions and how to overcome. Okay, so before we move on to the answer plan, let's look at the steps to follow. So I highlighted these points earlier. So let's I'll take you through these points so that you'd remember what you're supposed to do at your exam as well as when attempting each mock exam. So you are supposed to read the scenario and reference material, which takes up 5 minutes of your time usually. So that's we are done with this. You are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your own words. Keep it simple. We have done that as well. And develop headings and subheadings. Headings should be in bold and underlined format, and subheadings should be in bold format. So for each main task, you are supposed to develop a main heading, which needs to be in bold and underlined format. So that's exactly what you can see. There are 2 main subtasks, and for each subtask, I've come up with main heading. And if you want to further fraction out the answer, you can utilize subheadings, which needs to be in bold format. That's exactly what you can see. I've used 2 subheadings for the second subtask, and That's exactly what you can see in here. So you need to get your headings and subheadings right. Then develop each answer plan on the answer screen itself, allocating 20 minutes of your time. And once you have finalized your answer plan for the entire task, you are supposed to expand the answer plan, thereby typing out the fully fledged answer. So you need to take or allocate 20 minutes to do that. Okay, so the first requirement is to highlight the challenges of complying with dealership conditions. So when complying with these three conditions, what type of challenges are we faced with? And after highlighting the challenges, you are supposed to say how we are supposed to overcome each of these challenges. Okay, so for each challenge, I've highlighted each challenge, and for each I've come up with recommendations to overcome the challenges. So this question tests your understanding about E2 relevant syllabus areas. So in E2, majority in majority of if you look at the E2 syllabus, a higher level of prominence is provided for leadership related area elements as well as HR related elements, how to deal with different companies, how to deal with different types of employees, how to get rid of conflicts, how to carry out negotiations, and how to manage organizational culture and whatnot. So this area or this question tests your understanding about E2 related areas or HR related areas. So the first challenge is with regards to achieving the required level of marketing alignment, because as per KMW, we are supposed to carry out joint marketing initiatives. So the challenge with regards to achieving this type of marketing alignment is with regards to maintaining our brand identity. So when we are carrying out this dealership operation, we are supposed to carry out joint marketing initiatives. So we are supposed to not only market our own brand, Cuppcar's brand, we are supposed to market KMW's brand as well. So this could be problematic because there will be issues with regards to brand consistency, issues pertaining to target market definition, because the way in which KMW targets or defines its target market could be totally different to the way in which we at Cuppcar will define our target market. So there could be challenges pertaining to these elements, as well as there could be challenges with regards to resource allocation. So for instance, when carrying out marketing campaign, if KMW says that we have to spend X amount of money, and if you do not agree with it, then it leads to complexities with regards to carrying out joint marketing initiatives. So these are the type of issues which we might be faced with, and you can come up with any other type of answer as long as it makes sense, as long as you can justify each point. And how are you supposed to overcome each of these issues? It's better to carry out collaborative discussions with regards to carrying out joint marketing initiatives. So it's better to identify the common goals and values of both the companies, because then that would be the first step towards determining our marketing objectives. Because if we get our marketing objectives right, then coming up with a plan becomes easy. If both the companies have different marketing objectives, then there won't be, we are not in a position to achieve the required level of alignment with regards to marketing. So the first step towards carrying out a highly effective collaborative marketing operation is to identify common marketing goals which are based on the common values of each company. And then we have to establish clear branding initiatives. So when carrying out branding, we should not solely focus on branding our own company or marketing our own company. Instead, we have to ensure that KMW is part and parcel of the marketing initiatives which we carry out as well. We should not provide a high level of prominence for Cuppcar's brand. We should treat both the brands equally. And we have to also establish cross-functional teams from both companies to achieve the required level of coordination. So rather than working in isolation, if we are to conduct joint marketing operations, rather than working in isolation, both companies need to work hand in hand. So with this in mind, it's better to come up with or develop cross-functional teams so that both the teams can regularly communicate with each other and come up with the best type of marketing campaigns. And regularly, we should review and adjust our strategies as and when needed, because we cannot come up with a static, or we cannot stick to a static strategy when dealing with a new company, especially when dealing with a company which is located in a foreign country. The cultures could be totally different. So in order to avoid all these cultural differences, as well as any other type of operational and strategic differences, it's better to have an open mind with regards to strategy development. We should be open towards constantly changing our strategy. So it's better if we stick to an emergent strategy when it comes to developing our marketing strategy. So an emergent strategy is a situation where you are open to changing your strategy in line with the type of issues faced by the company, in line with how the industry as well as various different stakeholders would react to our strategy. So it's better to have an open mind rather than going for a traditional means of strategy formulation or a static strategy. And the second challenge is with regards to complexity in communication, because we are supposed to be involved with joint decision making. So when both the companies come together with the intention of decision making, carrying out decision making, it leads to complexities in communication. So these complexities arise because of differences, mainly because of differences in corporate culture. So, as per my personal experience, I was working for a blue chip, and this blue chip did not go for a dealership. Rather, we acquired a smaller company. And when we tried to merge the two companies together, the cultures were totally different. So because of that, there were so much of conflicts, and most of the individuals who came from the company which we acquired ended up leaving the organization, leaving the joint company. So these type of issues could occur when trying to deal with another company, which is mainly because of differences in corporate culture. And there could be complexities in decision making. So for instance, if you look at the internal dynamics of Cuppcar, assuming that we are involved with the democratic style of leadership and decision making, whereas at KMW, if there is autocracy or autocratic type of leadership or decision making, then this leads to a culture clash again, which in the end results in complexities in communication. And the working hours will be different because KMW is located in a foreign country. And on top of that, there could be language barriers or language differences as well, which will further increase the complexities pertaining to communication. So how are we supposed to overcome each of these issues? It's better to invest time and effort on conducting cross-cultural training for employees of both companies, so that individuals from both companies are conversant with the cultural dynamics. They'd understand the differences and work towards overcoming these differences. And whilst conducting these training initiatives, we can also highlight any areas in which the cultures are common. If that is the case, then we can focus on the common areas with the intention of getting rid of the differences. And we should focus on developing a structured approach to communication, especially with the intention of getting rid of complexities in communication. So what does a structured approach entail? We have to define communication protocols and channels. So if both teams, if they are to communicate with each other, we need to determine beforehand what type of protocols they need to adhere to, what type of, as well as the type of communication channels they need to adhere to, because there could be formal as well as informal communication. So it's better if we can go for formal communication, especially with the intention of getting rid of complexities in communication. So one such method with regards to formal communication is communicating through emails. So when deciding marketing strategy or operational strategy, it's best if both companies, if they are involved with formal communication, so it's best if both companies would use emails rather than adhering to telephone communications, because we can't record telephone communications. That might lead to discrepancies in decision making. Rather than facing these issues, it's better to adhere to a formalized approach. So we have to predetermine the protocols and the channels to be used when conducting communications. And we should encourage virtual meetings and document sharing across the board, with the intention of knowledge sharing openly, as well as given that the decision makers within KMW are located within another country, we should encourage virtual meetings at all times. And it's prudent to hire bilingual staff members as well, with the intention of getting rid of language barriers rather. And we can use translation services or conduct language training. I don't think that investing on language training is it makes practical sense, because if you have to get the ball rolling within a short period of time, you can't spend a lot of time on language training. Instead, it's better to hire bilingual staff and use translation services. And looking at the third challenge, which is about conducting operations in a sustainable manner. So the issues are with regards to the investment, because if you are to achieve the required level of sustainability, we have to go for significant investments. And on top of that, we'd have to train our workforce. So how are we supposed to overcome these issues? With regards to the significance of initial investments, it's better to go for a phased approach to investment, thereby balancing short-term costs with long-term benefits. So when trying to balance short-term costs with long-term benefits, we have to focus on high-impact projects which generates quick returns. If that is the case, even though we are spending significant amounts of money right now, if we are poised for quick returns, then we can avoid the cost of sustainable operations. And with regards to training the workforce, we have to spend money or allocate budgets pertaining to employee training. And also, it's prudent to explore financial support, thereby trying to determine whether we can benefit from government grants, because if we achieve sustainability, we'd be in the good books of the government. If that is the case, we can benefit from grants provided by them, whether we are eligible for any incentives or tax breaks because of us achieving a higher level of sustainability. So these are the type of ways in which we can overcome each of these challenges. So this the first subtask tests your understanding about, as I mentioned earlier, an E2 relevant area. So it's just a matter of really understanding the three main conditions. So the examiner tests your ability with regards to evaluating each condition, thereby testing whether you are in a position to understand the shortcomings or complexities involved with each of these conditions. And if you accurately understand the conditions, then you are in a position to come up with appropriate recommendations as well. Okay, so when developing recommendations, your application skills are tested. So as I mentioned earlier, when coming up with mitigatory action with the intention of overcoming each challenge, I utilized my knowledge pertaining to E2 relevant areas, such as overcoming communicational issues, overcoming cultural differences, how to get rid of financing issues, how to deal with the government and seek financial support from them, and likewise. So all these things are covered in your E2 syllabus. Then moving on to the second subtask, secondly, you are supposed to discuss the characteristics of debt and equity that should be considered when sourcing the funds for the investment required to establish the new dealership with KMW. So again, as I mentioned earlier, it's prudent to reiterate the requirement in a concise and simple manner. So I've reiterated the requirement as characteristics of debt and equity. So keep it simple so that you can easily understand what's expected from you. So you are supposed to come up with a main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. And since I'm talking about debt and equity for each area, I've come up with a subheading, which is in bold format. So you are supposed to evaluate between debt and equity, or in other terms, you are supposed to highlight the pros and cons of each source of financing. So this area tests your understanding about F2 related syllabus content. So when you think about debt and equity, it's prudent to always talk about the gearing ratio, and on top of that, highlight the pros and cons of each financing option. So the pros of debt are, it's a relatively cheaper source of finance. So because of that, um, it carries a lesser amount of risk compared to equity, and the interest is tax deductible. So the main benefit of opting for debt is, if I ask the question of whether between debt and equity, which is best, the easiest way in which a company should raise finance is to opt for debt financing, solely given the fact that the loan interest is tax deductible. So it's as if you go for debt, you have to bear finance costs or the loan interest. However, since you are a company, you are in a position to reduce your tax liability by since loan interests are tax deductible. So for instance, if your tax liability comes up to something like $30 million, if your finance cost comes up to $10 million, 30 minus 10, you just need to pay $20 million as your taxes to the government. So it's as if you are receiving a loan you are receiving a loan interest free. So although you are paying your finance cost, although you have to bear your finance costs, it's as if you are, getting a loan interest free. So that's the main benefit of debt finance. And looking at the drawbacks, in order to secure debt financing, you have to provide security, or you have to provide collateral. However, Cuppcar is a car dealership, so because of that, it has access to significant amounts of non-current assets because it's selling cars. So we can easily pledge our cars as collateral when going ahead with this dealership. So in such an environment, we are in a position to easily seek debt financing. However, you should not stop there. You should always talk about the gearing ratio when evaluating whether we can go for debt or not. So the gearing, which can be calculated as debt divided by debt plus equity, the current gearing is 22.5% as per the pre-seen document. And if we opt for this additional loan financing, which comes up to $160 million, if you have to finance this investment of $160 million utilizing loan financing, our gearing increases to 26.6%. So if you are conversant with the gearing ratio, you'd know for a fact that it's prudent to keep the gearing ratio below 50%, because if a company's gearing ratio improves more than 50%, then when you seek loan financing, you are exposed to two factors. So when you seek loan financing, if your gearing is above 50, the lenders will see your company as a risky business. So in such an environment, some type of lenders will refrain from lending to you. So if that is the case, you are not in a position to seek debt financing. And on top of that, even if some lender agrees to lend to you, they'd charge higher interest rates. Why? Because if your gearing is higher or gearing is above 50%, as I mentioned earlier, you are considered as a risky business because you have too much debt. Because if you have too much debt, then it leads to bankruptcy in the long run if you do not manage the situation right now. So if you have too much debt, it leads to increasing your risk profile. So lending to a risky business with a higher level of risk comes higher level of returns. So lenders will seek higher returns, thereby increasing the interest rate. So if they increase the interest rate, then your finance costs will increase. So that is not the case. So that's the theoretical element behind the gearing ratio, but that's not the case if you look at Cuppcar's situation. Even with this significant investment, our gearing ratio is just 26.6%. Yes, when the gearing ratio increases, it increases the financial risk, but this is not a significant risk because the increase is just 4.1 percentage points, and this is significantly lesser than the ceiling of 50%, which we need to be focused on. So looking at these things, I've highlighted that we can easily go for debt financing considering the situation Cuppcar is at the moment. You have to also think about equity financing, again focusing on the pros and cons. The pros are, if we go for equity financing, we need not repay the capital unless and otherwise we are liquidating our business. So I don't think that Cuppcar will liquidate its business because it had been in operation for quite a long period of time, and we have been successful in the past. So in such an environment, if we go for equity financing, we need not repay it back. If we go for debt, we have to repay the capital as well as an interest. But if we opt for equity, until or unless or otherwise we liquidate our business or wind up our business, we need not repay the capital. And if we raise equity financing, our gearing ratio will decrease. And if our gearing ratio decreases, it results in our financial risk decreasing. So as I mentioned earlier, if our gearing exceeds 50%, our business risk increases. However, if we opt for equity, our gearing ratio, which is already at, which was originally at 22.5%, will decrease. And if that is the case, our financial risk decreases. And looking at the drawbacks of equity, these are relatively more expensive source of finance, because when opting for debt financing, as I mentioned earlier, the loan interests are tax deductible. So it's as if we are getting a loan without a finance cost or without interest. However, if we go for equity financing, there's a lot of complexities involved. You have to get underwriters on board. You need to, it's as if you are insuring the share issue. So you have to pay a lot of money to underwriters. There are a lot of lawyers involved. You need to adhere to a set of regulations of the Securities and Exchange Commission or the stock market of your country. So in such an environment, all these things will lead to high administration and regulatory costs. So it's a relatively more expensive source of finance. It's not easy to raise equity finance relative to raising debt finance. And the dividend is not tax deductible. If we go for equity, we have to pay dividend. Not always. The board can decide not to pay dividends to shareholders, but if that is the case, it leads to dissatisfying the shareholders. So it's prudent to pay some type of dividend or share of profits to the shareholders. And these dividends is a cost for the company. Although when we opt for debt, although the loan interest is tax deductible, the dividend is not tax deductible. So we are not benefiting when you consider the taxation related issues. And legal formalities need to be complied with, as I mentioned earlier. And shareholders expect a convincing business proposal to invest further. So it's questionable as to whether these investors would actually be on board when we are trying to invest $160 million. Why? Because this proposal had been presented by KMW, not by our own employees or our own board members. So when trying to convince the shareholders, we might face some issues, because the shareholders would also always ask as to how we came up with this number. And in such an environment, we'd have to say that this number is based on the proposal made by KMW. So the shareholders will not be satisfied too much. So in an overall sense, looking at both these options, I think it's prudent to go for debt financing. However, you are not supposed to, provide your own conclusion. Instead, you are supposed to, evaluate between debt and equity financing. Okay. So as I mentioned earlier, it's better to spend some time to develop an answer plan. So keep things simple. Don't, when developing the answer plan, don't come up with, pages and pages of answers. Instead, keep things simple, because you are spending just 20 minutes to come up with the answer plan or structure your answer. You are just spending 20 minutes to, come up, plan out your answer. And when planning out your answer, as I mentioned earlier, try to think how theoretical elements can be utilized with the intention of improving your the quality of the answer. But just by providing highly theoretical answers, you are not going to gain any marks. Instead, you need to focus on how to apply theory with the intention of improving the quality of your answer. So that's exactly what you can see here. So I've brought in information from the pre-scene, thereby highlighting the existing gearing ratio. And I've utilized my knowledge pertinent to F2, thereby calculating the fresh gearing ratio, considering the new investment. And based on that, I've highlighted how it affects our company and our risk profile. So that's the type of methodology which you need to adhere to when developing your answer plans. And if so, you are in a position to develop high quality answers, at the same time manage your time appropriately. So I hope you gained something out of this discussion. I hope you really understood what we're expected to do. And for each of the 5 mock exams, we have developed similar answer plans. And once you go through these answer plans, you are in a position to significantly improve the quality of your answers. You understand how to structure your answers appropriately. And on top of that, after you receive tutor feedback, focus on the subtasks in which your performance was substandard, and redevelop answer plans. And after redeveloping answer plans, simply compare them to the answer plans which we have provided, so that you'd again improve the quality of your answers. And a week before the exam, according to our study plan, you are supposed to relax, and you are supposed to refer to the answer plans of all 5 mocks. So this is the best type of revision which you can carry out. So when going through these answer plans, you would be revising the answer structures, you would be revising theory, you would be revising application skills. So that's what's necessary closer to the exam. So simply stick to the study plan and you'd pass the MCS exam. Okay, so having said all these things, having covered all these things, let me remind you, I'm actually proud to say that we achieved a 90% pass rate in the November sitting as well. And this student who purchased the premium package and adhered to the study plan ended up achieving 114 marks. When the pass mark is just 80, this student ended up getting 114. So if you stick to the study plan, you can achieve a similar result. All right, so I'm opening up the forum for questions. If you have any, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop a message via the chat section. So I'm going to pause the recording. So Eddie, thank you very much for raising this concern. So Eddie is asking whether, what was the question again? Whether these bullet points are the answer plan or the fully fledged answer. So this is actually the answer plan, Eddie. So what you need to do is, as I mentioned earlier, you need to allocate 20 minutes of your time to develop the answer plan, or in other terms, plan out your answer. Think about what you are supposed to cover within your answer. So after you are done with developing the answer plan, then utilizing your remaining 20 minutes, you are supposed to expand the answer plan. And as I mentioned earlier, per valid point, you need to come up with a paragraph. So when doing that, let me quickly show you how you should do it. So I'm going back to the free content again. Right. So you are supposed to allocate 5 minutes to read through the scenario, then allocate 20 minutes to develop the answer plan. That's where you structure the answer, you are involved with planning. After doing that, the remaining 20 minutes should be allocated towards expanding the answer plan in paragraph format. So that's exactly what you can see in here. So with regards to marketing alignment, different types of paragraphs have been developed. So the entire answer is in paragraph form. Okay, characteristics of debt and equity. So, how to calculate this and whatnot, all these things are in paragraph format. So, if you have a plan at your disposal, then when it comes to typing out your answer, rather than trying to multitask, rather than think as well as type the answer, it's just a matter of expanding the answer plan. So your life becomes extremely easy. So you can't get these things right. You can't get the answering and time management techniques right just by knowing these things. Instead, you need to keep practicing answering and time management techniques. So if you attempt all 5 mocks, you'd be practicing answering and time management techniques 20 times over. And if that's the case, you'd come up with well-structured answers at your real exam. At the same time, manage your time appropriately. You'd never run out of time if you practice all 5 mocks under exam conditions. So, any other questions? I pray to God we have time to type such an elaborative answer in just 20 minutes. Yeah, so, it's something like this. You can't get this technique right, Eddie, when you're doing it for the first time. And on top of that, these are, when developing these answer plans, we have considered all elements, all syllabus areas. However, you are not expected to, develop answer plans which are elaborate such as these. Instead, focus on the weightage provided, and looking at the weightage, determine how many marks are allocated for each and every subtask. When you understand the mark allocations, you can determine the number of valid points which you need to highlight. And after you know that, it's simply a matter of coming up with the required amount of points, amount of valid points, thereby developing your answer plan. And you can significantly improve your answering technique or the quality of your answer plans when you redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks in which your performance is low. So on a week by week basis, you are supposed to attempt a mock exam. So let's assume you attempt a mock on Tuesday. On Wednesday, you are supposed to watch the master classes. Then you learn what you are supposed to cover within your answer, improve application skills, at the same time learn theory. And by Thursday, within 48 hours, you'd get a tutor feedback. Then you'd really understand what your shortcomings are and the subtasks in which your performance is substandard. Then Friday can be allocated towards redeveloping answer plans. So if you focus on your answering techniques, or if you focus on a continuous basis on redeveloping answer plans, you can get this right. Okay, that's exactly why the student which I was talking about got 114 marks last time, solely by practicing answering technique. I don't think there aren't any more questions. So you can contact us via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com, or drop us an email via info@study@tcs.com, or simply WhatsApp us on 7898464196. I'm always ready to help you guys. And follow us on our social media handles, especially TikTok, because the answering techniques are highlighted via a TikTok video, so that you can constantly keep reminding yourself about what you need to get right when developing your answer plans, as well as with regards to managing your time. And on top of that, via the TikTok, you can access a mind map which covers the entire pre-scene. So within 7 to 9 minutes, we have summarized the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-scene document. So on a continuous basis until your exam in the upcoming 4 weeks, if you keep, 5 weeks rather, if you keep watching these 3 TikTok videos on a continuous basis, then you need not actually memorize the information which is presented within the pre-scene document. So make use of this free content which we are providing for benefit. So having said that, it brings us to the end of tonight's webinar. So thank you very much for joining in. And if you, when attempting mock exams, if you have any questions, please reach us via WhatsApp or via our website. And I hope you'd take part of the upcoming webinar, which is happening next Saturday. So thank you very much and have a good night. See you.